Hello, folks. Welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. Tonight we're going to be looking at more freaky stories and having some fun. So get ready for another cryptid corner, or we're going to be looking at UFOs and having some fun as well. Just tonight we're just going to be looking at some weird stories and just looking at it all. But while we wait for people to gather in the chat, let me go off and basically share some artwork off from my own upcoming graphic novel, Scumdogs. Okay? Here we go. Here's my extreme 90s cover. This cover is for my graphic novel Scumdogs. It's a parody book. I parody the cartoons we all know and love when we were growing up as kids. So you'll see characters that'll remind you of characters you watched when you were a child. Back when you were a child. Now the two main characters on this book are Death Mug and Buick Starpoon. Death Mug is the leader of the Scumdogs. He's the purple guy with the metal mask. And Buick Starpoon is the leader of his team in the Space Forces, is the guy with the pompadour hair over there. Death Mug is a parody of various villains from 80s cartoons. You can see he's got aspects of them from the way he looks. Like Cobra Commander and Serpentor from G.I. Joe, the leaders of Cobra. He's got a metal mask like Cobra Commander, and like Serpentor, he's got gold on him. And he's purple like the Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Death Mug is an overblown dictator who wants to rule the world, while his archenemy Buick Starpoon, who's a G.I. Joe parody, and mostly of Duke from G.I. Joe, but also of the space opera hero type of character, like Buzz Lightyear, or Zap Brannigan, Captain Kirk, or Buck Rogers, those kinds of characters. You can see it in the uniform he's wearing. He's a parody of those kinds of characters as well as a G.I. Joe parody. And because he's a G.I. Joe parody, he's got a military specialty. In fact, every member of his team in the Space Forces has a military specialty. They have Buick Starpoon's military specialty is that he's a captain in the Space Forces. He leads his team against the Scumdogs. But he's also an arrogant, overblown military guy who thinks he can do nothing wrong and that everything he does is right. His ego is so huge that it's no wonder that he hates Death Mug. Both of their egos are gigantic, so they can't stand each other and be in the same room. So naturally, they want to fight each other and beat each other up as soon as they meet. Now, the other members of Buick Starpoon's team are these guys on this cover. The guy over here with the mohawk, his name is Roadhog. His military specialty is that he's an army guy. He's part of the Space Forces and stuff like that. All right. Let me go up here. Yeah. All right. This blue guy with the gun down here, this guy is Beach Pounder. His military specialty is that he's, a Marine, just another Marine. He joined up with Buick Starpoon to fight the good fight. While this guy back here in the vehicle, this heavy vehicle, the guy in the red uniform, his name is Blast Tank. His military specialty is that he's a heavy vehicle specialist, a tanker. All right. Now, this is one of 3 different variant covers you'll be able to back when my Indiegogo goes live. It's not live yet, folks. I'm still working on the book. But when it does go back, you'll enjoy it. This is one of 3 different variant covers. The other covers I'll show off eventually as well. Now, here we have Girl Friday. Girl Friday is another member of the Wild Rangers. That's the name of Buick Starpoon's team in the Space Forces. Now, Girl Friday was assigned as Buick Starpoon's second command because while the Wild Rangers go out and fight the Scumdogs and save the world, they're just highly destructive idiots. And to head off criticism from the public because of all the destruction they were doing when saving the world, they assigned Girl Friday. And she hates Buick Starpoon, mainly because she thinks he's an idiot and that her career in the military is over. So come read about her in my graphic novel. You'll have some fun. Here we have Death Mug. Here we have Death Mug's henchman. The blue guy with the top hat is Murder Mouth, and the pink guy down here is Sloppy. They're basically a parody of all the henchmen from 80s cartoons. You know, those idiots that destroy everything they touch, because the main villain would always have idiots working for him. And, these guys, Murder Mouth and Sloppy are a parody of them. Look pretty good, huh? And here we have Hair Metal Doctor. Hair Metal Doctor is a parody of Dr. Mindbender from G.I. Joe, a mad scientist. But my mad scientist here has been crossed over with a hair metal musician because I thought that'd be awesome as a villain. He thinks of all the mad gadgets and all the mad gadgets the scumdogs use to try and take over the world. All right. And here we have Miss Breasty Melons. Miss Breasty Melons is a parody character, mainly the hot female villain type character. You see the spy suit she's wearing. She only became a villain for fun, though, so she's only doing this because she wants to have a fun time. That's Miss Breasty Melons. Now, the Hair Metal Doctor pinup and the Miss Breasty Melons pinup here will be included with my graphic novel along with others when you go and back it on Indiegogo. It's not up there yet, folks, but it's coming. But you can also go and basically be able to buy. I'm going to put these pinups out on T-shirts for you to buy as well. So you look out for those as well. So look out for them. Now I looked at this. Let's go maybe to Indiegogo and check out if there's any new Indiegogos up before we look at some freaky stories tonight. By the way, folks, have you hit that like button for me? Let me go over here to see. Let's see. I have to come back later. All right, let's see. Timothy Olsen, I think you and hope you saw the DM. I did see the DM Timothy Olsen, and yeah, I can't wait for my book. Thank you for checking in, Timothy Olsen, and I can't wait for it, man. It's coming very soon. I can see. Now, stick around and watch or listen to me as I tell you some freaky stories. But let's go to Indiegogo real quick. Alien Alamo has made $86,076, now funding through in demand. Let's see. Let's see down here. Maybe look at this. Let's look at this. Stomp 2 comic book has made $5,749. Let's take a look at this. Stomp 2, Stomp's Adventures in this 38-page action-packed comic book. Stomp story continues in the second issue. You can back this book for $10. You can also get issue 1 and 2 together for $20. What will hopefully be an ongoing series of comic books. To do that, I will need your help to get this book funded. The reaction to Stomp 1 Remastered was very positive, and I can't wait for you to read Stomp's next adventure. Who is Stomp? Yeah, Stomp is a blue-collar superhero who likes to protect his small town because this guy wants to make a superhero who's basically a superhero of his small town. He goes and basically helps, and he goes and helps his people, goes and helps his friends and stuff. He likes to make a small town hero who basically doesn't like to go for glory, but just goes and does the right thing. Which means he works his butt off every day. Yeah, he's a blue-collar super. Means he works his butt off to do the right thing and help others without worrying about fame or glory. This doesn't mean that he doesn't make mistakes or have personality shortcomings that might interfere with his goals, but his default attitude is to put the needs of others before any dreams of ambitions. A key event from Stomp's past, parts of which were shown in flashback from Stomp 1, will be in the primary motivating factor for where Stomp is going as a superhero, although he's not at all comfortable using the term. Most of the story in issue 1 and 2 takes place in a rural flyover country, small town. Not too bad. Anyway, back to issue 2. The first page of Stomp 2 picks up only a few hours after the final page of the first. Loose plot threads from the first issue will be developed further, and Stomp will be forced to confront new threat created by magical forces that he has never encountered before. My goal is to create a book that can be picked up and read immediately after you finish Stomp 1 Remastered, but also a comic book that represents a satisfying story for new readers as well, even if you've never read issue 1. I hope you to create a story you can enjoy. Well, I hope you enjoy the story. Looks pretty good. The artwork in this book is pretty good for a book. Definitely better than some of the other art I've seen. Well, from Marvel and DC. Yeah, it looks like a good book. Go back Stomp 1 and, Stomp 2 in this new campaign. All right, let's go over here. Let's go this way, see if there's anything new up. Elvira meets Vincent Price, 13,071 with 15 days left. The relentless Tin Soldier. Can rookie cop Parse single-handedly take on the corrupted of the Collada family? A guy who turns himself into metal. All right, not bad. Let's see. Main Billy Tucci cover, $12. Main exclusive homage cover, $15. Billy Tucci homage cover. Venture Comics covers by all-star artists including Billy Tucci, Sylvie Robson, follow Benjamin Person as he fights crime and corruption and begins his journey to becoming the hero he was destined. He's Benjamin Person, rookie cop who sets out to take down the most influential crime family plaguing Minneapolis. Family is expected in an organization with so much influence was not going down without a fight. The Collada family, down without a fight to stop him. They inadvertently create the one hero that can bring their criminals into a halt once and for all. But best part of this book is already complete and just praying for your help to contributions that we can go to print. Let's look at this. Not bad. Oh, the artwork on the side is beautiful. Look at that art. Yeah, this looks like a good comic book. I like what I'm seeing here. It's already made 326. It's going for 1,500. It's got 59 days left. Yeah, this looks like a good book. The little Tin Soldier here. It's up on Indiegogo. All right, let's go down here a bit. All right, not doing too bad. First main graphic novel by Andy Smith has made 20,654. Not doing too bad there either. Now, maybe we should go off and look at some freaky stories tonight. All right. Do this. Get this here. All right, let's go look at this. Maybe I'll just do this, huh? Let's do this. I'm full of freaky cases concerning tulpas, thought form phenomenon. Traditions, adventures, and interviews with 4 freaky cases. All right, let's look at these tulpas. The phenomenon of the thought form, tulpa, or imagination, its origins in the ancient teachings of Buddhism, is a Tibetan term that roughly translates into English as manifestation. In essence, we're talking about the process by which the human mind can bring some degree of alternative physical existence to an entity that is created slowly within the depths of the imagination and from within the dream state too. In other words, and as incredible as it may sound, each and every one of us may well possess the ability to give life to certain things that don't exist in the same way that we do. Our aliens, Bigfoot, and ghosts may not be what they appear to be. They may be our creations, inadvertent or deliberate. Almost always, the tulpa breaks free of its brain-based mirrors and takes on a degree of independent reality in the world at large. In simple terms, what we imagine internally when we quite literally put our minds to it can mutate into a full-blown reality of an external nature. Walter Yelling, a writer of anthropology and pioneer of the study of Tibetan Buddhism, said of the tulpa concept, in as much as the mind creates the world of appearances, it can create any particular object desired. The process consists of giving palpable being to a visualization in very much the same manner as an architect gives concrete expression in 3 dimensions to his abstract concepts, after first giving them an expression in the 2 dimensions of his blueprint. Now onto the strange saga of the late Stan here. He was the author of a number of books, including Creatures from Inner Space, Paranormal Gooch. In the pages of the Paranormal told of his encounter with nothing less than what seemed to be a Neanderthal man at a seance held at a house in the English city in the 1950s. Gooch's very own words during the course of the seance, something both primitive and primeval materialized before the shocked attendees. This was crouching ape-like shape, which became clearer as the moments passed. I guess it is approximated to most people's idea of what an ancient caveman would look like, yet one could not make out much detail. The eyes were hidden, for example, and stood in half shadow, watching us, breathing heavily as if nervous. I must say, though, that I sensed rather than heard the breathing. I could not decide whether our visitor was wearing the skin of some animal or whether it had a rough coat of hair of its own. All attempts in questioning the man beast and have it join the circle were utterly fruitless, and eventually it melted away into nothingness. Nevertheless, Cooch never forgot the experience, and later mused upon the notion that what he had seen on the fateful evening was a classic Neanderthal. As someone who had a deep interest in the history of ancient man, Cooch came to believe that his intense fascination for the Neanderthal led to his mind briefly create a Tupple version of our early ancestors. The story of Alexander David Neal is a fascinating one, too. She was born Louis Eugene Alexander Marie David in France in 1868 and was the first woman to gain the title of Tibetan Lama, committed Buddhist, who lived in the highly impressive age of 100 years. She was a noted traveler, and she was never one to turn her nose up at a new experience and chose to attempt to create her own tulpa. After learning of it, became fascinated and slightly awed by the concept. Buddhist monk, she duly focused her attention on the image of a kindly fire type character from the days and legends of Robin Hood, months of deep meditation in which she, I've heard about this story, visualized her creation gain form. David Neal provided it with a character history and background, and the day finally came when the mind monk cast away its chains of the brain and strode forth into the heart of the real world. But the friendly monk was not all that he appeared to be. Subtly, over time, he began to change, as David Neal noted with regret later on. She reflected on the affair some years later of the following fashion: the fat, chubby-cheeked fellow grew leaner, face assumed a vaguely mocking, sly, malignant look. He became more troublesome and bold and brief, and escaped my control. Richard Freeman is both a zoologist and former zookeeper. In summer of 1997, having an interest in the thought of form phenomenon, chose to create a Tupple of his very own. Freeman's inspiration for his quest was a writer, Clark Ashton Smith's spider deity. Of course you would do something like that. It appears in Ashton Smith's story, The Seven Gios, published in 1934. Nachos describes a terrifying malevolent arachnid that has somewhat human-looking hairy face and a huge spidery limbs. When Freeman decided to try and create a Tupple of Reginald Nachi, he took the whole thing very seriously, which is certainly a vital key to ensuring a high degree of success, as well as constructing an altar to the spider god in the cellar of his house. He was living in the time Freeman took a large piece of cloth, painted it to look like a vast spider's web, and hung it on the cellar. Then, at the foot of the altar, he began a complex series of rites and prayers, all designed with the one goal in mind: to bring Clark Ashton Smith's monster to life. Of sorts, at least. It worked. It was late one night, and roughly a month after the experiment began, that Freeman went into that old dark cellar with the intent of trying to further enhance his tulpa. He was confronted by something hideous and almost heart-stopping. It was the shadow of a giant spider on one of the walls. Freeman fled from the room and took steps immediately to construct the monster. Fortune was an occultist mystic and the author of a number of acclaimed works, and whose real name was Violent Mary V, who died in 1946 at the age of 45, was someone who was skilled at creating monsters in the mind and then unleashing them into the world around her. Fortune made it very clear, however, that the creating a mind monster rarely has a positive outcome. It is something that each and every one of us should take careful heed of. Her story is as fascinating as it is disturbing. The artificial elements is constructed by forming a clear-cut image of the imagination of the creature. It is intended to create and solely it with something of the corresponding aspect of one's own being, and then invoking into the appropriate natural force. The method can be used for good as well as evil. Guardian and angels are formed this way. It is said the dying woman, anxiously concerning the welfare of their children, frequently form them unconsciously. I myself had an exceedingly nasty experience in which I formulated a werewolf, accidentally unpleasant as this was. I think it may be just as well to give it publicity, for it shows what may happen when insufficiently disciplined and purified nature is handling occult forces. A full examination of Fortune's work in the field of tulpas will appear in the book. Sorry if I'm slurring my words, but tired here, I suppose. There can be no doubt one of the creepiest supernatural phenomena to have surfaced in the last 2 decades is that what have become infamously known as black-eyed children. Infamously black-eyed children. They are pale-faced, eerie-looking children whose titles come from the fact that their eyes are completely black. People say they have the power to control minds and that they try to find their way into homes to steal the souls of unfortunate people targeted. The tale is very much to urban legends, which is certainly how they began. Incredible, however, people now see the BEC regularly and all around the world. The most popular theories for the existence of these dangerous paranormal entities is that they are the monsters of legend and imagination, having been given so much publicity on the internet and in books, have taken on their own independent lives as tulpas, and all because thousands of people believe in them. All right, it's this. A serious freaky fish found thriving in ocean dead zone. Slender Man, silver screen now film to feature a freaky urban legend. Boring. Fiestas the Freaky, celebrating the unexplained. Let me do this first. Let me do this right here. Oh, by the way, folks, hit that like button for me because it really helps in faith algorithm. Unsealed document reveals on the FBI hunt for secret. Looks like treasure, huh? Court case and weird horned aliens in the closet. Potion down from a secret facility to a crashed UFO and dead aliens. Let's look at this. Over the years, controversial claims have been made about a highly classified facility located in Wiltshire, England. UK's Ministry of Defence Science and Technology Laboratory, Technology Laboratory is better known as Portion Down. Over the years, claims have been made about a connection between Portion Down and UFOs. Before we can get to the matter of UFOs, let's take a look at a Pushing Down, Dr. Robert M. Wood's book, Alien vs. States. Although work at Pushing Down had originally begun in March 1916, it was until 1940 that the installation became the central hub of British interest in biological warfare. Following the start of the Second World War, a highly secret independent group, the Biology Department of Potion, was established by the War Cabinet with something to investigate the reality of biological warfare and to develop a means to retaliation. In the event that biological warfare was utilized against the United Kingdom by 1946, the research department damn it, I lost my place. Oh, well, maybe not. Damn. Let me find it again. Let's see. It's been known as pushing over the years. Claims have been made about pushing down UFOs. Before we get to the matter of UFOs, let's take a look at pushing down's Dr. M. Wood's book, Island vs. States. The work at pushing down had originally been in March 1916. It was not until 1940 that the initial installation became the central hub of British interest in biological warfare. Right? Following the start of the Second World War, a highly secret and independent group, the Biology Department Potion, was established by the War Cabinet with a mandate to investigate the reality of biological warfare and develop a means of retaliation in the event that biological warfare was used against the United Kingdom. By the 1946, the name of the wartime group had become the Microbiological Research Department. A decade later, the biological warfare research at Pushing Down had become solely defensive in nature. In 1956, it was renamed the Biological Research Entertainment. Here's this. There's a sign to the place. The BBC, Potion Downs was set up in 1916. It was a center designed to test chemical and biological weapons. Nerve gases such as sarin, sarin, were tested on volunteers. Servicemen were offered around $2 and 3 days leave as an incentive to take part in these tests. Very few servicemen knew what they were volunteering for, and some were told it was research into the cure for the common cold. In 1953, it's alleged that serviceman Ronald Manson died after taking part in a taking part in a sarin. Yes. Let me see this again. Let's see. Lost my place. Common cold. Robert said sarin gas experiment died after taking part in a sarin gas experiment in 1962. One of Potion Down's own scientists, Jeffrey Becken, died of the plague. The end of World War II. 20,000 people taking part in experiments at the place. Right? Now let's get to the UFO angle. Potion Downs, it was a January 2001, the then retired, now late British Admiral, the Fleet Lord Hale Norton, decided to get into the Russelsham Forest controversy. Without a doubt, the most famous UFO event in the UK, having had an interest in UFOs for decades, he used his considerable clout to try and figure out what occurred in 1980s. It was hardly an easy task for Hale Norton to achieve our specific interest in Hale Norton's were the claims of Richard's connection to the activities of Potion Down staff. He wanted to know whether personnel from Potion Downs visited Russelsham Forest or the area. By the way, folks, hit that like button. It helps affect the algorithm. As well as please go share this video on social media. All right. Held down decided to get into the Russelsham Forest controversy. Without a doubt, the most famous UFO event in the UK, having had interest in UFOs occurred in 1980. It was hardly an easy task for Hale Norton. Russelsham connections to the activities of Potion Down staff. He wanted to know. Russelsham wanted to know. Russelsham here. He wanted to know what visited Russelsham Forest or the area surrounding Ralph Wharton in December 1980 and January 1981, whether they are aware of any tests carried out in either of those two areas aimed at assessing any nuclear, biological, chemical hazard. As time progressed, more and more data surfaced and suggested that the UFO landing was really a sophisticated hologram-driven experiment designed to determine the extent to which the military personnel in the forest would have their minds mended. And first we could have their minds melded. Mind control, in other words. Okay. Let me do this. Of course, most people in ufology don't want to hear one of the most famous cases destroyed. Too bad. Now let's jump back. 74, Andy Roberts states book UFO Down. In 78, Kevin Gibbons wrote a children's science fiction novel by Spaceships to the Moon, which features a UFO landing on Moel, essentially the barren mountains of North Wales. 16 years later, in a surreal case of life imitating art, the very same mountains would begin to be focused for a story involving a downed UFO. But this time, claims for years crashed UFO mountains. Not only that, but in 1996, an anonymous soldier came forward claiming that he knew the remains of dead aliens were held at Potion Down. Of course, that this has not been confirmed, but we do have the fascinating story of a man named Robert Bolton. First interviewed Bolton by phone, then met him in person in Norwich, England in 2000. He told me I spent 30 years in the Royal Air Force as an aircraft destroyer engineer. I had various posts, including Arcateri and Cyprus, Ralph Homerton, and formerly, let me get this. And Arcateri and Cyprus, and at Raff Valley in North Wales from 1971 to 1974. My wife and her. And at Raff Valley in North Wales from 1941 to 1974, my wife and her family came from Covert came from Corwin at the time when that thing on the Virulence happened. But Corwin, from Corwin, let me see this happened. Yeah. Let me get to this. Came from Corwin at the same time that the thing on the Burns happened. They all lived up on the side of the mountain, but her mom still lived up on the side. Maybe I should reread this part. I first interviewed Bolton by phone and then met him in person in Northwoods, England, 2000. He told me I spent 30 years in the Royal Air Force and aircraft engineer. I had various posts in schooling, Secretary in Cyprus, RAF Harrington, and at the RAF Valley in North Wales from 1971 to 1974. And my wife and her family came from Corwin at the time that the thing on the Burns happened. They lived up on the side of the mountains, and her mom still lives there to this day. Corwin was part of the Burren Range from their house. If you walk up to the path that goes behind the house, up and onto the top of the mountains, you're talking perhaps a mile and quarter away from where all it occurred, so it's not very far away at all. She still remembers what happened the night of 23rd January. She said to me, when I spoke to her about it, just recently saw aircraft and heard aircraft and shut down. Like aircraft coming down. But the sound was much louder, bigger, heavier, and I don't know anything you could imagine to do with an aircraft they didn't want to do. They didn't know what it was. They heard the noises first of all and ran out into the road. They weren't the only ones. They weren't the only ones. All their neighbors ran out as well. It grew louder and louder, and they couldn't see anything in the sky, but then they felt the impact where the houses shook and she had things fall off of the metal place in the house. It was my wife's dad told me a story about bodies being found on the mountain. His name was Harold Smith, but everyone called him Mick. He had a full-time job with Vexel in his report. He was a local counselor, and he was also a part-time sub-fire officer at Corwin. One day, we got to talking and got on to the subject of UFOs, and he said to me, "Oh, well, you obviously don't know anything about the incident up on the Burren Mountains." I first heard the story from him around 76. At the time, he only told me the bodies had been brought down from the mountain and didn't say anything more. Nothing about who brought them down there or where they were taken. But from 1979 to 1992, I was posted to Germany, and my wife's mother came to stay with me. No, great, come on there. Let's keep slurring my words here. Sorry if you heard that. Let me work myself up here. Let's get back to this article. Maybe reread this. His name was Harold Smith. He was a local counselor and was also a part-time sub-fire officer at Corwin. One day we got to talk and got onto the subject of UFOs, and he said to me, "Oh, well, you obviously don't know about the incident up on the Burren Mountains." I first heard the story from him in 76. He only told me about the bodies that had been brought down from the mountain. He didn't say anything more. Nothing about who brought them down or where they had been taken. From 79 to 82, I was posted to Germany. Nick and my wife's mother came out to stay for a month, and it was there that he told us about it. He told us more. I remember that the information he told us had apparently come from another person in the North Wales Fire Service whose son was in the Army. But it was not surprising that he would have told Mick was a well-respected man and knew people throughout the North Wales Fire Service, including at Bill and Wixom. Mick told me that while the police weren't involved, the Army was. Heavily, I can't give you an exact date when they visited. And he told us of this, but it was definitely between 1979 and 1982. He said that there were definitely trucks pushing down the scene, that there was a Lagrange-shaped object on the mountainside, and that bodies were taken off the mountain and driven to Portland. To this day, his wife can also confirm that Mick told her the story about pushing down and bodies to either in the late 1970s or of the early 1980s. Robert signed off. I do remember Mick saying that when he had first told me the story in 1976, he didn't know that it was the Army who had taken the bodies off the mountain. He didn't know at the time that they'd been taken to the place. So we must have learned that between 1976 and when he came to see us in Germany. Dead aliens are pushing down, rebranders and rumors. Maybe things are destined to stay like that, or on the other hand, though, just perhaps something incredible might one day surface. Interesting. What do you think about this article, folks? Very interesting. Think that this has anything to do with aliens or what? Hmm. Let's get into this. So here, court case of weird horned aliens in the closet. Let's take a look at this. At first glance, the case that came out in 06, carried out by the Santa Barbara attorney's office in Santa Barbara, California, looks pretty mundane. For some, Boeing it even involved in action against the Greca Energy Corp, which is the country's largest and land-based oil, gas producer, for alleged health and safety violations, as its refinery operations, as well as numerous environmental violations. While most of the accounts in the lawsuits were eventually settled to $600,000, some similarly remain. And one of the key witnesses brought in a former public security officer with the company by the name of Gary Lowry, who alleged that he had, on numerous occasions, point out safety and violations that were ignored by these bosses. So far, it just sounds like a dull legal slob, a big oil company, environmental concerns, and safety protocols. More yawn-inducing than anything else. But the eyebrows do not pop up a bit when it gets to the point when the lowly part where the lowly starts talking about horned aliens and his cousin visitors by alien forces terrorizing his family. During the trial, Lowry began to come out with some rather outlandish claims, to say the least. The claims were not made directly to the DA's office, but they were rather uncovered offline. Were rather uncovered online, where it seems Lowry claiming that aliens had been regularly trespassing into his house and holding his family, his wife, and kids under siege. Lowry claimed that the bizarre horned alien-like vaguely insectoid entities were emerging from his closet at night and to poke him and his family with needles as they slept, after which they would wake with a needle hose. Well, they would awake with a needle hose on their bodies, often forming diamond-shaped patterns. He found he himself stopped short of labeling them as aliens, but as quick as to point out that they are definitely not human. He would say that this is a mistake or something like that. He would say that this is the crooked attorney who is rather strangely none other than Bela G. Lugosi's son, is the actor best known for playing Count Dracula. It was rather strange he's none other than Bela G. Lugosi, huh? Okay. They were bothering me. I don't think I said they terrorized me, but I said that they were bothering me. You can see these little eyes looking at you and the horns of his eyebrows. I'm not sure that they are, that you call them aliens. I know that they're not human looking. I don't remember a lot of it, but because, you're asleep, what's happening to you? What's happening to you, huh? Okay, so you've seen aliens and stuff like that. So there's that as well to consider. They were let me read this. Playing for other than, But don't just take my word for it, as Lowry would claim to have plenty of evidence to the back of his story, where in addition to the recording footprints of the beasts, with a sheet of aluminum foil that he had laid out, he also claimed to have found a claw of one of the creatures hanging from a towel in his closet, and even claimed to have captured video footage of them. Yeah. This footage has seen by Deputy District Attorney Jerry, who found it to be very compelling after seeing the tapes. Legend would make a statement saying, I'm going to argue in court that there's something going on in these videos that substantiate with Gary Logie is talking. Ooh. Yeah, that Gary is talking about, but I can tell you what that is. I can't give away the juicy part. There are things that look really, really strange. It sort of put the hair on the back of my neck up when I saw them. He's shown me he's rational. He's shown me that there are things going on outside of him, and he's shown me proof that they're there. Everything he said in his deposition so far checked to be true based on what he said in his, or what I've seen on the videos and what's in the reports. Images from videos would eventually be released, but they are rather underwhelming, showing what may kind of sort of look like a misshapen head if you squint your eyes. As to why these picture quality is so bad, one of the UFO researchers had this to say. If these beings were moved between frames detected on pause on the camera, as he says, they may have a sort of cloaking device or cloaking power to fool our sense of vision or they're slightly out of phase with our three dimensions, as the camera can capture what the unhinged eye can't, but not being seen as continuing motion of this video cam. That is strange. A high-speed infrared cam plus a night vision cam and a taser to disable the beam triggered by the camera would send about 50,000 volts into whatever and may be able to capture it. But as it has mass, it is exhibited by the indentation of the aluminum foil. The aluminum foil, huh? Yeah. Where Fast Walker appeared in the closet, I think he said, Lowly also enlisted the help of a notable UFO researcher, Pondrest, an expert in alien implants. Dr. Roger Lear, who also believes his story. Amazingly, none of this seemed to disqualify Lowry as a credible witness in the case against Gricka, despite the company seeking to use his stories of aliens as a reason to discredit him and have him booted as a reliable witness. In the case, Gricka attorney Lugosi would demand the court's decision to allow Loki to continue his involvement in the case, saying, don't you find a witness who claims that he's been visited by aliens at night and getting punctured at night rather a wacky thing to be claiming? Obviously, credibility is important. It's not every day you have a code enforcement matter which involves aliens in the closet, mysterious clause, and a potterist who removes alien implants. Here's the most important witness, and the DA is buying into it, saying that none of this affects his credibility. We're very surprised. Yes, there are people who believe in aliens, but we're talking about the Santa Barbara District Attorney's office here. As all of this was going on, Louis became a sort of minor celebrity in the UFO field, appearing on the Paranormal Radio, Coast to Coast AM with host Mike Siegel. But then he began to go silent on his story, according to some, because he was being told to not speak of these things, sparking tales of conspiracies concerning going on beyond even the court case. Peter A. Kirsten, Executive Director of Citizens Against UFO Secrecy, would say of it all. Several weeks before the Bay Area, in August, Gary Loki, a Blackfield fire safety officer, contacted me after numerous failed attempts to get the attention of other well-known organizations, persons in the UFO field, after listening to a story about this incoming encounter with strange insectoid-type creatures in his home, and based upon his possession of certain creatures in his home, and based upon his possession of certain physical evidence, agreed to represent him both as an attorney and also in a joint venture to get the truth out. Though Lully was forthcoming in stating that he wants to help his family financially with the information and evidence he possesses. He assured me that his primary motivation is to share his ongoing encounters with the world and hopefully learn some answers as to what he and his family have been through. Or what his family are experiencing. My part of the agreement included my successful efforts to get him national attention through my organization Chaos. My workshop at the at the Bay Area UFO Expo, and my frequent appearances on Mike Siegel's Coast to Coast radio show, as well as other projects and forums that were being planned. After speaking, Louis over the course of several weeks came to believe that the Breaksfield, California place represents one of the best cases of contact because of the confirmatory physical evidence. The believability of the human, the believability of the witness and the continuous nature of the experiences. Unfortunately, because of the greed and selflessness of several people, Lowley is temporarily silenced and his credibility forever compromised. Last Saturday, give or take a day, Gary Lowley, after being told by the police by a self-styled Hollywood producer that there was no need for him to consult me on any other attorney, signed a contract for the exclusive print and the movie rights to his stories. According to Lowry, the contract prohibits him from talking to anyone about his past and present experiences. The producer even deceptively composed an email for Lowry to send him in. Composed an email, no longer an email for Lowry to send to me, in which the I keep losing my place here. The producer even deceptively posted an email to send, when she says that he can no longer appear on Mike Siegel's Coast to Coast radio show, and as if I have any questions, I should consult his attorney, Mike Comerfield, who I later determined was actually the producer's attorney and not Lowry's. Sadly, though, Lowley appeared with me on the radio show the past Monday night. He refused to talk about his experiences, which he had originally agreed to share before the producer's gag order. Here, what makes Louis' debacle even more unpalatable? Even more unpalatable is the fact that the perpetrators in the service are members of the UFO community. In fact, the producer is none other than Christopher Wyatt, president and CEO of UFOcommunity.com, a company which, as evidenced by Wyatt's callous disregard for both the public's right to know and the significance of Louis' interaction with other life forms, is quite inappropriately named. Why White, after saying Louis to an exclusive contract, would want to silence him silence him on the eve of his national coming out party, with terribly avoiding a coast-to-coast listening audience of millions, and the free promotion inherent in the... Sorry, I almost lost my balance there. Why White, after saying both public's right to know, a company which is evidenced by White's callous disregard for both the public's right to know and the significance of Louis' interaction with other life forms, is quite inappropriately named. There's that as well. Wyatt, after signing Louis to an exclusive contract, would want to silence him. Wyatt would want to silence him on the eve of his national coming out party, thoroughly avoiding a coast-to-coast listening audience of millions, and the free promotion inherent in such exposure is very strange and suspicious. Christopher Wyatt here, suspicious. Wyatt has used the tools of deception and misrepresentation, coercion to silence an individual who is presently interacting with a non-human form of intelligence. Siegel's show. Lowry stated that he was coerced by Wyatt into signing the contract. Wyatt has now convinced Lowry that he has no choice but to honor their contracts, and that Wyatt will sue him if he shows the contract to me. I am not surprised that there are those within the UFO community who are more interested in money than in our right to know the truth. But to compromise something we all have been waiting years for, the opportunity to record and verify the existence of ongoing contract, is unconscionable and requires exposing the true nature of the beast. Indeed, during the coming court appearances, Lowry would freeze up and refuse to mention the aliens again, allowing the whole thing to resolve in mundane fashion. Was he silenced? And if so, why? Who exactly in the world was going on here? What do we make of all of this? A big court case, a lawyer who is the son of the actor who played Dracula. Aliens, I seem to, as if I could not possibly get more absurd. And yet this all did happen, and there is on the record. It is all a very bizarre case, and certainly adds some spice, otherwise dry and humdrum business. Yeah. Okay, we looked at that. Not bad. What do you think about what we just read, folks? Very interesting, huh? Anything else to look at? Maybe go back over here. Look at some more freaky stories. Mysterious freaky fish found in thriving ocean dead zone. Slender Man, witches and their freaky familiars. Ohio's freaky frog folk. Fiestas of the freaky, celebrating the unexplained. Well, maybe we'll look at this. The bizarre, weird, and paranormal, the extraordinary, and the mysterious. There's just but nothing on this planet that we as a species won't celebrate. The unearthly and divine to the legendary and freakish. Here are four of the most unbelievable festivals on the planet. Any excuse for a party, right? Festa di Coca. Maybe. The Mothman Festival. Yes, the Mothman Festival. If you've ever sat vigorously along the dark highways of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, I bet you've been biding your time in hopes of bringing a snap of the legendary Mothman. Well, if one is patient, when that special time of the year rolls around, September, that is, downtown Point Pleasant will be positively swarmed with Mothmen, Mothwomen, Moth children, held yearly in celebration of the shadowy figure. The Mothman Festival will now be entering its 12th year, and it always attracts the most colorful of patrons. Right? Okay, there's the Roswell UFO Festival. Maybe. That wasn't too bad. I could take a look. I'm not going to read all of this and stuff like that. Just taking a quick look. Maybe just, I think I've heard of the Roswell Festival. I might come back to this later on. But let's go over here. Go there. The manner of paranormal mist and fog and strange creatures. Have I read this story before? I've read Strange Fog before. The strange story of a haunted murder house. Right. The mysterious Demon Road of Texas, maybe. And the White Sands UFO incident. The bizarre tale of a haunted website. Zombie. Oh wait, there's creepy image reveals a ghost face peering through a school window. Ohio man films allegedly moving on their own. Quarantine alone in a haunted town. A frightening demonic haunting in Wells. Maybe. Oh, by the way, folks, hit that like button if you have not yet. It really helps me fight the algorithm, as well as please go and hit that bell. Hit the part of the bell that gives you all feature notifications for my videos, as well as please go and share this video on Twitter and Facebook. This very strange tale of Zozo, or demon, eerie paranormal encounters with doppelgangers, maybe. The bizarre and self-vanishing of Randy Leach, strange encounters with the road demons in India, eerie encounters of haunted elevators. Intelligence urges U.S. Congress to investigate UFOs. Spooky paranormal encounters in cornfields. Okay, let's look at this. I probably won't finish this article off. But let's read a bit of the stories here, huh? There are a lot of locations in the world that seem to be perfect for strange encounters and ghostly phenomena. Dark, remote wilderness, check. Decrepit old buildings. Abandoned, rotting structures, check. Another that could probably be included in this list is the innately creepy cornfield. Here are rows upon rows of tall stalks stretch out into the distance, considering what hides inside. While looking out at these somewhat unseemly places, one can easily imagine seeing the corn move, something cutting a swath through it. It's something mysterious, insane, perhaps horrible. That is not just a scenario for movies, but there have been plenty of accounts of encountering very bizarre entities, monsters in cornfields, bizarre entities, apparitions in cornfields, which makes them every bit as creepy and unsettling as anything you can imagine. Many of the accounts we will look at here are difficult to classify, making it murky as to whether we're dealing with a mystery monsters, ghosts, demons. What a very creepy encounter was reported in .co and told by a witness named Frank who says he once worked at a rural cheese factory in the state of Minnesota that stood right up against a vast sea of corn in the summer of 2004. He said that he was on break at night shift, looking out over the looking over the place and watching bats flirt about when something very unearthly caught his eye. He says of the surreal sequence of events that would follow. As I was watching the bats, I looked down at the edge of the cornfield. Something was moving there. It was the size of a small child and very, very skinny, pale, with something that looked like a head of straight black hair. It moved in a sort of jerky gait, like someone dancing the robot badly. It moved in chunks, legs, then hips, then torso, shoulders, neck, and finally head. It was looking back into the cornfield, or at least I felt like it was. I felt prickly all over. I didn't know what it was. I thought maybe it was a heron or something at first, but it looked too much like a person. It didn't move like a person, though. Go right step by step, it moved towards me. Laying my caress to get my fear, I moved toward the edge of the deck, which was raised a few feet off the ground. When I got within a few feet of the edge, the thing looked at me. I was paralyzed. I could have run. Paralyzed. He was stuck somewhere between terrified and intrigued. It moved its face, still pointing at me. It ratcheted its body in the kind of circling, jerky movements toward the cornfield and went into it. I tried to watch where the field moved as it passed, but the corn remained perfectly still. I noticed that all the crickets were silent. After a few minutes, nothing happened. I stood out there for an hour, but it never came back. I never saw it again. What sort of creature was this? Probably never know. Another case we have of a witness named Jennifer, who had her own bizarre experience in a cornfield in the state of Indiana, where, Jennifer, Jennifer here, where at the time she lived with her mother, Jennifer, and stepfather at the top of a small hill in the middle of nowhere, we're overlooking acres and acres of cornfield. Jennifer here, huh? And she was living with her stepfather Jennifer was living with her stepbrother at the top of a small hill out in the middle of nowhere, overlooking acres and acres of cornfield and woods. She claims that one day she went out exploring the area and walked some distance out along the silent cornfield where it bumped up against and kissed the woods. This was when something very strange would make its presence known, she says. Was walking back, and I caught a fast flash of something all black moving behind a tree in the woods. I stopped and looked at it. At first, I didn't see anything, so I began walking again. But after a few steps, I see it again, and this time it didn't hide. What I saw that day was not only unexplainable; it was pure evil in a form. It stood there looking at me, and its head and neck hung to the side in a very abnormal way, as if it was broken. It stood there for 4 feet tall, and its arms were very long and hung all the way to the ground. It looked as if its entire body was burned or very thick like skin, and it had no hair or ears on its head. Then I noticed the steam was rolling off this thing like crazy, and then let out a loud scream that scared me so badly I began to run full speed ahead through the field towards the house. I felt as if my heart was going to beat out of my chest, and I could hear the leaves crunching as this thing was definitely coming after me. I was about a million things going through my mind at this point. I was wondering what would happen to me if this thing does catch me up with me. I have a quick glance back, and I could see it closer than had been gained speed as it was using its long arms to help it run, kind of like a gorilla would. All this time, it's also letting out this gurgling sort of scream that I can't really explain. Finally, I reached the house and began to tell my mother what had happened. I hadn't even finished when we both heard something pounding on the outside of the house. We both began to scream and cry, and it sounded as if it was going to beat the walls down. After an hour of torment, this thing just stopped. When my dad got home and my mom and I told him what happened, I was sure he would never believe us, but to my complete surprise, he went and got some other people and his hunting rifle and went looking for the creature. Of course, they never caught it, and after a year it went by, and my dad and I were outside one night talking, and I came up in our conversation. He told me that the reason he knew we were telling the truth was because 2 nights before that he was burning some leaves on back. He saw it standing in the middle of the field and heard it screaming like a banshee. I will never know what that thing was. Around the same time that year, there were at least 7 different reports of a thing in the woods. What What in the world is it? It is curious that a similar creature was reported as being seen by others at the same time as on many occasions. And one wonders what that otherworldly thing could have possibly have been. From the start of Illinois comes the account of witnesses who says that her own encounters happened while driving with her husband along a lonely rural road in central Illinois that passed right through the expansive cornfields. On both sides, it was described as a clear summer evening, and as the stalks blurred in a hypnotic cycle, something would give them quite a jolt, she says. I could read this story too, but let me go see how long this article I have left of this. Quite a bit of one. I don't think I want to read all of this tonight. Maybe I'll come back to this later on. Very interesting what people encounter in cornfields, huh? Read this article some other time. But tonight's been a pretty good, unless you guys want me to continue with it. Let me go over here. 4 likes, not too bad. As I was saying, maybe I could continue with this article. But right now I'll continue, but right now I'm going to basically end my video. If you leave me a chat saying you want me to continue, I will. Remember, folks, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You, okay? That there is misspelled. Make sure you're still subscribed and hit that like button because it helps me fight the algorithm, as well as leave some comments down below. Hit that bell and hit the part of the bell that gives you all future notifications, and please go share this video on Twitter and Facebook. Remember also to go over and subscribe to Stitched Together Pics. Stitched Together Pics is a YouTube channel hosted by the Maniacal Cinephile. It's a YouTube channel that you're going to love his reviews of movies. He is just fun. He plays watching Stitched Together Pics. Go and subscribe to him. As well as go over and subscribe to Creepy Little Book. Creepy Little Book is like the Art Bell radio show. He does small videos talking about high strangeness, but he also does live streams every night. He live streams on weekdays at 12:30 a.m. and on weekends at 10 o'clock p.m. He talks about aliens and ghosts, and you learn so much from watching his live streams. They are great. As well as go over to rumble.com and subscribe to my Rumble channel. The name of my Rumble channel is Comic Freak. And also go over to BitChute.com and subscribe to my BitChute channel. The name of my BitChute channel is Comic Freak. Remember, folks, I'll be back again tomorrow around, maybe 11 o'clock p.m. for another live stream, so be sure to come back again then. Till then, folks, see you later.